All right, everyone. This is Address the Sess. I guess this is special E3 edition. E3, well, a week from now, we'll already be knee-deep, butt-deep in E3-ness, new games, new consoles. So I thought we would spend today, partially, talking about what you guys are hoping to get out of E3, and then I will endeavor to do my best, as will Max and Kara, to get some clarity on all those issues. In addition, today the embargo lifted on the review for The Last of Us. I've heard a lot of reaction about the game, and I know some people felt that they wanted to know more, and I'll see what answers I can give you, but no, I will not be spoiling the game, because there's some wonderful moments in it that should definitely be discovered for all of you, all on your own. Also, if you haven't seen the review, oh my, I encourage you to do that after this wonderful Address Assess. We got Nick Robinson here. Nick, say wave, say hello.
Hello.
All right, so you're going to start bringing people in?
Yes, people will be joining very shortly. In the meantime, though, we've already had questions rolling in for the past week that are all very E3 centric. If you're interested.
Okay, well, let's get some at me.
Cool. Here's what we have so far. This is an interesting one from Brian Allen on Google+. He wants to know, do you think E3 is losing some of its relevance? We had both Sony and Microsoft announce their new consoles at separate events, and Nintendo's putting greater emphasis on Nintendo Direct. Do you think this will become the norm?
Yeah, this is the yearly question. Is E3 relevant anymore? There's many ways that people think it is or is not relevant. As far as sort of announcing the consoles, both Microsoft and Sony at separate events, that I think doesn't pertain to whether or not E3 is real. In years past, Microsoft and Sony would have used the previous E3 to the year in which it would be released to announce the console, thereby leaving about a year and a half where it's out there in the wild. We would know about, say, the PS4, or actually originally about the Xbox 360, and that never really worked for them because they can't stay on message and always be giving new information over an entire year and a half. They haven't probably locked down some of the hardware specs. In addition, once a new console is announced, that tends to soften sales of the existing console. So what they've done is really narrowed that window, and so I wouldn't say that them making those announcements ahead of E3 says that E3 isn't relevant, because they are definitely using E3 to give what hopefully will be a much clearer picture. A lot of the E3 relevance is because what we're seeing in the gaming market is a large expansion in mobile, in social, and in those areas, and they're not very represented at E3. It tends to favor very, very wealthy companies, the EAs, the Activisions, the Ubisofts of the world, and you don't get the same kind of clear picture of where the game industry is headed. You only get a picture of where the console industry is headed. And I think that there's some merit to that, and I think that maybe it would be nice to see if the ESA might reduce some of the cost of getting boot space there to bring in smaller developers, to bring in indies, to bring in stuff that's happening in mobile that just can't afford to get into these grandfathered massive footprints that are at the Los Angeles Convention Center. So that is where I stand on the E3 losing its relevance. And trust me, we'll be talking about this question a year from now, because it will never, ever go away. Even if E3 goes away, people will
somehow
it's lost its relevance.
Right. Cool. Well, it looks like we've got some people who are itching to talk about E3. You want to throw to somebody?
Yeah, let's start with AJ Janowski.
Cool.
AJ, you there?
Hey, AJ.
Hey, what's up?
Hello there, AJ. Where are you reaching us from?
I'm from Chicago.
Oh, nice. A wonderful city. Soon to be the home of one of my most favorite colleagues, Patrick Klepek. So if you see him around, you can pat him on his fuzzy little head. He might find that threatening, so I should probably encourage that. Regardless, so E3, what's something that you would like to see out of E3?
Well, I mean, what I would like, the one thing that I'm most excited for is Destiny, definitely, because I'm a huge Bungie fan. I love the Halo series, and I'm excited to see, we'll actually see something from the game, besides the trailers and stuff that barely showed anything.
Yeah, trust me, as someone who has spent I went up to this event up in Seattle where I knew that we weren't going to get video to show you guys, but I thought I might at least see something, and yeah, I saw nothing. And so this game has been both an annoyance and a source of ridiculous intrigue for me, and I am with you. Do you think Destiny could be a type of game that could give some definition to what next-gen console gaming is going to be like? I mean, that seems to be where they're positioning it.
I mean, it really seems like it might, like open up the possibilities for like MMOs and stuff to be on consoles. Like, well, I mean, more than they already are. Like, you know, in like better forms, you know, and like just kind of open up the possibilities for like multiplayer to like and players to interact in different ways, you know, kind of like the ideas they already started with like Journey and stuff.
No, and that's the part that intrigues me. The one thing I noticed when I saw the presentation up in Seattle was Eric Hirschberg, the articulate. He has the nicest pants. He wears blue jeans that must cost thousands of dollars. I noticed this and watch this, all of you, while you're at E3. He will get on stage at one of the press conferences, I assure you. Look at the quality of his jeans. Anyway, back to Destiny. He was very, very restrained in using the term MMO. And I'm interested to figure out if they just think that's a bad marketing term or how massive or how sort of small the multiplayer might be. But yeah, it sounds like it's going to be like Journey and people are slipping in and out of your game. That is definitely on the top of my list of what I want to see. And you know, it's one of the few things, I can assure you you're going to see it because we're going to have someone from Bungie who is going to be coming to our stage with video of the game, and we're going to be talking about it. Look, I'm able to promote our E3 coverage, and that's going to be happening on Tuesday of next week, assuming our schedule holds. So, AJ, I mean, do you think you're going to hear what you want to hear out of E3, or do you think the companies are going to be holding back on some of the information?
I'm thinking, well, especially like for Microsoft, I think after their last press conference, I think we're definitely going to hear a lot from what we hear from them. I'm still not entirely sure about Sony because, you know, I was excited of like what I heard out of the press conference, but at the same time, it was a lot of just kind of, imagine if we had this, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know that Microsoft has gotten a lot of hate, and deservedly so, for the way that they presented themselves, but it has kind of cast Sony in a light that I don't know if it's actually deserving. I'm not saying that Sony has a bad console or anything.
Yeah.
I just don't know that much outside of what the hardware specs are, which were undecidedly quite impressive. Decidedly impressive. Excuse me, everyone. So AJ, you stay there, and Nick, do you want to bring in Alex? And guys, as we start to bring people in, let's see if we can get another one of those fun conversations going, because that's when Address the Sess takes off.
Yeah, anyone feel free to basically jump in at any time. Here's Alex, hopefully.
Alex, do we got you?
We've got an icon of a Star Wars man.
He doesn't have a mic. So we might not be able to bring in Alex.
All right, you want to jump ahead to Connor?
Let's go ahead. Connor? Hey, how you doing, man? Think your mic is off? Unmute your mic.
Hello?
Unmute.
Hey, it's working.
There we go. Connor, where were you coming in from?
I'm coming in from Newcastle, England.
Oh, nice. Newcastle. Actually,
Yeah.
one of my most favorite beers is a nice Nuki. So, but you shouldn't be drinking, young man. I can see that you probably aren't allowed to. Anyway, E3. Obviously, you won't be able to be in attendance, but you'll be able to watch it. You know, read through games, God knows how many places. What is the thing that you want to walk away from E3? Like, okay, I have a clear picture of something.
I'm not sure because you don't really know what comes out of E3. It depends to change because it can vary. Sometimes you can go away saying, wow, this press conference was amazing. Sometimes it can be, oh, well, it wasn't so good. It can vary. I would like to see some new IPs, of course, but
yeah,
from what I can see, there's a lot of sequels and Battlefield 4, new Call of Duty sort of thing. But really what I'd like to see is new IPs, but unsure until we get there, really.
No, I think that's a really good point. I mean, new console generations is where you can get new IPs because, you know, the people who buy those consoles first out, you know, like you and me, are people who really are into gaming and they're willing to try something new and different, and then we help establish what's going to be the enduring franchise through that generation. You know, yeah, there's Destiny, there's Watch Dogs, there's Quantum Friends. Nick, what is that game called from Remedy? Because, as I've said before, to address the Sess, Quantum has got to be excised from all of our vocabulary if you are not a physicist.
It's not Quantum Conundrum. It's not Quantum Dream. It's
Quantum Break.
Quantum. Let's just call it Quantum Pain or Quantum Wake.
I think it's Quantum Break. Maybe it's like Point Break meets Heavy Rain. Hopefully not, because that sounds kind of awesome. Anyhow, yeah. I mean, are there any games, Connor, that you yourself are particularly interested in that you want to learn more about?
Well, yeah, like that Quantum Break, because it was very mysterious the way they revealed it. They didn't really go in depth into what it was, and they were
Yeah, when you show nothing and explain nothing, you tend to have an air of mystery surrounding you.
And I'm definitely like excited to see more about it because Remedy always delivers really great games like Alan Wake. I loved that game.
Now, let's cross our fingers it will take them only half the time it took them to get Alan Wake done. So
yeah.
That's my only hesitance on that title.
Oh, so it'll only take 4 years, is what you're saying.
And actually, having said that, we will be having Remedy on our stage. I will be interviewing them Tuesday as well. So Tuesday, June 11th, Destiny and Quantum Break. We'll see which other ones come up. Is there something you're worried that you're going to hear about, be it used games, always online? You have to eat pizza if you are playing on an Xbox One?
Not really, because I sort of expected most of the stuff that was going to happen. The only thing that worried me slightly was that I read today that Microsoft had cancelled their post-E3 media discussion.
Yeah, everyone's been telling me this. I'm not saying it isn't true. I never got the email. I could have sworn that I was supposed to be attending it. It's interesting that they have chosen to do that. It could very well be for the most, easily explainable of reasons, but with all of that concern surrounding them after their presentation of the Xbox One, it's not great to see that they have made this decision and haven't also put a message out there to kind of get in front of it, because everything they're doing right now is causing more questions rather than resolving them. So that doesn't mean I won't try to get a question in edgewise, but yeah, it is interesting. We currently are not scheduled to have interviews with Sony or Microsoft execs. They seem to be held back. That could be because they're talking to investors and retailers. That could also be that, I hope not, that we're not going to get all the clarity that we really want to get out of this E3. Connor, you just hang in there. And Nick, do you want to highlight someone to bring in?
Yeah, sure. I'll throw one question in from the YouTube chat real quick that I thought was pretty good. David Lee wants to know, do you think Microsoft will answer all our questions about DRM and always online at E3, and how much more will they hurt themselves if they don't?
If they don't, they will hurt themselves considerably. Also, even they have to answer this question head on. And to be fair, Sony has to answer this question head on as well. I know that a lot of people, that it looks like the used games question might be somewhat answered by Sony. I want to see a reaffirmation, something that doesn't sound like doublespeak from both of them. I'm not saying we're necessarily going to get that. I had hoped and have been told by a source that we would be hearing a statement out of Microsoft before E3. There's very little time left for that to happen. I'm no longer encouraged that that is going to happen. If there is bad news, it's odd that they would choose to do that at the press conference. If they don't answer it and get some clarity on it, the rest of that press conference, as good as it may be, and I have every confidence we are going to see all of these games they promise that they have in store, that's going to be just like this dark cloud that's hanging over it. These are obviously very pertinent questions to the early adopters of consoles. Yes, the people who are going to be buying an Xbox One or a PS4 2-3 years down the line when the cost is down, who might be more interested in using some of the entertainment functions of it, this is probably not first on their mind. But in terms of those first 2 years of survival in the marketplace, that's coming from the core gamer. And the core gamer is very attuned to matters of DRM, to always online, and to whether or not they can get used. It's not even so much that they have to say one or the other, that it doesn't work or it doesn't. They just have to stand there and just say, like, this is what our position is. This is going to affect your purchasing decision. So, like I said, I hope they don't talk around it. I hope they actually address it head on.
Yeah. So we've got Kevin in here who is eating some sort of snack, I think.
Oh,
Kevin, are you snacking?
Flower seeds.
Well, that's at least kind of healthy.
Yeah.
So those are the things I have to, I actually enjoy stuff like that. Like I really like popcorn and things. During the course of E3, because my voice is always just kind of a hair's breadth away from just completely, evaporating, all of that stuff that scratches the back of your throat, I can't have it, and I'm stuck eating stuff I don't like. I have to have gruel. Things are soft and coating, and it really sucks. So have sunflower seeds and popcorn next week, thinking of how I'm not.
Right.
Anyway, that is not why you are here.
It might be.
E3. What is like the thing? If I had the opportunity to get out there and answer a question for you, what would that question be?
Wow. All right. First of all, I'm really honored to be here. saw you growing up and all that. So
Oh, thanks,
really
man.
cool.
Thank you very much.
I like
Now
to
you're
say,
all grown up.
I know, right? I'm got the beard going now, so it's crazy.
And it's a nice
Um,
one. It's got a nice one.
All right, so I had a question. Do you know? Trying to think on what on my mind trying to think of.
Okay,
all right.
are you more interested in consoles or games at this E3?
I'm really interested in to see what like both Xbox and PlayStation have to bring to the table
Okay.
for this E3. I'm kind of also interested on seeing if Valve's gonna say anything about the Half-Life 3 or
Half-Life
anything.
3
If
or
anything's
Episode
gonna
3?
happen from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, if you want my honest opinion, I wouldn't hold your breath on that one. I don't know anything, but there would be that sense of excitement that something. Valve tends to tease themselves a little bit, and I haven't seen any of that teasing going on. So as much as all of you, all I want to see is just confidence that like this thing is somewhere around the corner. I want my Half-Life so badly.
Oh, I know. I love those games, and
I
gosh,
think we may have to shift our hopes and dreams. I think there's a better chance of Last Guardian than there is of Half-Life 3. I think that's a way of putting it.
yeah. Also, I was kind of wondering like if you think we will get like price point or exact date of when the new systems will come out.
I think there's a better shot at price than there is of date. I think dates. To be fair to both Microsoft and Sony on this one, date's a little more fungible because they probably want to figure out when they're at that point where they have so many of the consoles manufactured and in stock. They might be able to project that now. I think we'll get that window. It'll be, hopefully they won't give the seasonal ones. I hate the seasonal.
Yeah.
It's like winter. It's like, yeah, but that could be 2013 or 2014.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we'll get November or some window like that. Hopefully they will say price. They should be saying price because that can be the bad news or the good news. We can see subsidized models from both Sony and Microsoft where you buy a contract for their online services that will bring down the actual cost of the console. I think they need to address that. I still think that we're not going to see anything above maybe $450. That'll be the highest end of one of the two consoles. I'm hoping that because I will never forget the experience when the price of the PS3 was announced. I was sitting in the audience, and there was a gasp like nothing I've ever heard. And then there was quiet. I can't remember if it was Kaz or somebody was like, hey, but you get a copy of Talladega Nights on Blu-ray. And it just kind of drew more air out of the room. Like, oh, my God, they don't know how expensive that is. Yeah, I think price is really going to be important. If they pivot on price, it's like, when are they going to make that announcement? Are they going to try to hide what the cost was going to be? If they pivot on price, I wouldn't be hopeful that it's going to be affordable. So yeah, I'm with you. I think they have to know what their business plan is, and that's not just for the consumer. That's also for the investor. That's for the analyst that's out there, and that's for the retailer. Because when the $600 price was announced, I think a lot of retailers were like, I don't know how many of these are going to move. I'm probably going to stock more of these 360s because they're priced a little bit more for the average consumer out there. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. You follow me on Twitter if they don't announce price. I will make my feelings. Yeah, let me just see, Connor. I think game stuff is slightly more expensive in the UK than it is here in the States. What do you think is the necessary price for the two consoles for it to kind of find an audience, throughout England and Scotland and Wales?
I don't know. It just depends on the type of people they're aiming for, really. Like, if they're aiming for more the living room, they can't really go too expensive because, like, the average family's not going to want to spend too much money for, like, just television-wise, if that's what they're aiming for. So,
how expensive was the PlayStation 3 when it launched for you guys?
I think it was about £500, I think.
Okay, and that's significantly more than $600 because that's getting close to about $750 American.
Yeah,
So,
I had made a good 2-3 years before I ended up getting a PlayStation 3 because it was just that expensive at the time. I didn't have that money.
no, it's not reasonable to expect anybody should have that kind of cash lying around. So yeah, no, that's interesting. Nick, do you want to throw in somebody else here?
Yeah, absolutely. While we're talking about hardware, Nick Hunt in Google Plus says, we saw a great deal of hardware failure last generation, with the Xbox 360 being by far the worst. Have both companies learned their lessons, or do we face an equal risk this generation?
Microsoft learned their lesson on the Red Ring of Death. The secondary model, has shown to have a lot more life left in it. That was a huge black eye for Microsoft that they danced around and knew that it was a continuing problem. And given the fact that we're going to look at something I think that's far more competitive price-wise between the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, that they are going to be producing hardware that should be more reliable. If not, I will be stunned and furious.
Yeah, it's especially scary because without backwards compatibility on at least the Xbox One, we're reliant on these already known to be shoddy old systems to play all of our Xbox 360 and Xbox Live Arcade games for probably the rest of time, unless they roll some sort of backwards compatibility into it.
I don't know about the backwards. I have no confidence it'll be backwards compatible, but I think digitally over time, more and more titles from the Xbox 360 era are going to be made available. I don't think. I mean, something similar happened between Xbox One and 360, where they had to sort of allow you to download an update that would play the disc.
Right.
Halo 2 was playable right out of the box. I think that this is something that they'll be able to put out, but they will have to, I think, recode quite a few of these games to make them compatible with the Xbox One, and that will hopefully we'll be able to maintain some type of library.
Gotcha. Well, let's bring in Lucas. And if you want to take a stab at that name, that's
Lucas. I love that last name, even though I have no hope in hell of pronouncing it. How do you pronounce it?
It's Wojciechowski.
Oh, see, that sounds so good. Where are you contacting us from?
I'm actually in Stockholm, Sweden.
Oh, okay. Exactly. I mean, look, you guys just throwing consonants together. I like that because it's daring with language. So Stockholm, Sweden. The home of many a quality game developer. So, I mean, okay, I'm being slightly glib, but I have to ask you: do you think that a lot of the very northern European countries have these wonderful game development studios because there are the certain months of the year where like the sun barely is coming up? It's like, hey, we might as well just keep on working on these games 24/7.
Yeah, why not?
Theory?
If it's going good for them, so why not?
Exactly. So you're going to be paying attention to E3. What do you hope to hear from it? Like what's that one piece of information you don't have answered yet that you want to have answered?
I really would like to see some actual game from Rare, at least for once.
So there's rumors, and I'm not putting much stock in these rumors of a Banjo-Kazooie game. Would that make you happy, or do you need Killer Instinct? Do you need...
Actually, I'm more of a Conquer guy.
Conquer, okay. So, I mean, I would think that's an obvious choice. I've never understood why there weren't any other Conquer's games, although I no longer love Conquer as much as I used to. I went back and played the Xbox... I guess it was on the original Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this used to be funnier, I swear to God. Maybe I just got older and more cranky.
It's full of humor.
But would you, I mean, so it almost sounds like you would like to see kind of a traditional, albeit very adult, platformer.
Yeah. Like, I'm in love with Ratchet and Clank, so Conquer would be a good rival.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% on Ratchet and Clank. It is a franchise that I adore so much. Do you think we'll even hear a game from Rare? I'm so torn because they've been spending a lot of time working on stuff that's on the dashboard and the avatars and stuff like that. I'm almost wondering, like, do you think if there is a game from Rare and it is a traditional Rare franchise, that's going to help redefine what Microsoft is? That they're willing to actually expand their library of games to the very narrow one they have?
I'm not so sure. I'm just having hopes, but maybe, I don't know, Microsoft is just holding them a bit too tight, in my opinion.
So, are you already planning on getting the Microsoft console, or would seeing a game from Rare help make that decision for you?
It would make the decision a bit more, because I'm a Sony guy, but
okay.
But I just miss Rare. I really like the Conquer games. I played the the Xbox One at my friend's house a long time ago, and I loved it. But I mostly like the N64 one. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
No,
Bad
yeah.
30, something like that.
That was one of the first games I reviewed. In fact, I
really?
believe that was the first game I reviewed. So,
Really?
yeah. So I mean, that's really interesting. I'm with you on crossing my fingers that Rare will be kind of back in business because they were such a storied game developer, and there's even stuff from the N64 like Jet Force Gemini that I just one of the hardest games I have ever played, but I just absolutely adore it.
There is I think Microsoft, it was either Microsoft or Rare who came out and said that there is going to be some sort of Rare franchise. They hinted that some sort of Rare franchise will be coming back. Do you think that that means that they're pulling them out of the Avatar sweatshop? Like, do you think avatars are still going to exist on the Xbox One even?
I hope.
Well, oh.
No, actually, I want to hear from you, Lucas. How important are avatars to you? You're a good-looking guy. Why not just have you out there?
It's as important as PlayStation Home. So
yeah,
that says a lot right there.
Bravo, Lucas.
But
well,
I mean, Rare. It's a name. It's like Santa Monica for Sony. It's like Naughty for Sony. It's a name. They should take care of it. They should not. They should have put him with Kinect Sports. Many studios could do that. It's freaking Rare.
I agree entirely. I would like to think that Rare is big enough that they have the guys that are working on the avatars, and they're like, let's make his head bigger today. And then there's this other group that is, you know what, I would actually kind of like Rare to just say that, okay, we're doing Killer Instinct, not because I want to play Killer Instinct. If I get one more email, as I've gotten over the past decade, if Rare was making another Killer Instinct, it would finally put that to rest, and then I'll just get bothered about Kingdom Hearts 3, which I was bothered about.
Yeah.
It will be on my tombstone, the epitaph. Doesn't know about Kingdom Hearts 3. Couldn't care less. All right, Nick, shall we bring somebody else in?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got an interesting question here off YouTube from a guy whose name is Shigeru Miyamoto1. I'm a little skeptical that it's the real deal.
Really?
But he has a good question, which is, why are people so up in arms about console-used games when PC users have embraced Steam's DRM and are already used to the idea of owning a game just being having a license for it?
Well, that sounds like classic Miyamoto to me there, Nick.
Right, he's always chiming in about Steam.
Sitting there smoking $100 bills, worrying about used games. It's an interesting question, and I don't want to sound derisive because I do understand that a lot of people really rely upon used games to be able to expand what games that they can play. But I think a lot of it is also there's a certain system that's in place that people are accustomed to, and that is console games are physical, and they can be bought and then traded back in, and that you can buy at a reduced price a pre-owned version of the game. And when a company like Sony or when a company like Microsoft decide to change that market reality, it feels very intrusive and it feels very draconian. And I get where that's coming from, because the thing is, yeah, the digital games are out there that you can already do it on Sony, you can already do it on Microsoft, but if that's the only way that you can do it on Steam. And there is no trading. You can obviously gift it, games to other people, but I think this is just growing pains, and it's unfortunate that the importance of the retail sector, GameSpot and Walmart and Best Buy and all those guys, as I was saying earlier, have kind of not allowed the natural evolution of where probably console games should be. At this point, we should not even be talking about retail games. We should have already be accustomed to the idea that we're just going to be downloading everything onto our PS4s and Xbox Ones. And I think that's where we're going to be at the end of this console cycle. But changes like this tend to be pretty traumatic because you're asking people to kind of recalibrate their relationship to their product, and I think it's both psychological and practical, and you're seeing sort of the confluence of both.
Gotcha. Well, thanks to Miyamoto for the question. And,
yeah, thank you, and get back to work on one of them games that we're supposed to see next week.
Let's pull in Austin Matthews.
All right, Austin. Unmute yourself, Austin.
Hello?
Yeah, there you are.
There we go. Awesome. Sorry about that. So thank you once again for taking the time to do this address to Sess, by the way. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no, it's fine. They don't give me my car unless I do this every other week. So I can't go home.
So I had a question concerning the new consoles and mainly the ecosystem of the consoles. In terms of it seems like PlayStation 3 kind of has, or 4, Sony in general, has their head on straight in terms of what they want with the PlayStation 4's social networking aspect of the PlayStation, because PlayStation 3 really turned me off when it came to the dashboard, how you interact with friends. It was really lengthy, and it didn't feel intuitive.
Austin, I'm just going to interrupt you there.
Yes.
If that UMB, what was it? Is that at the Universal Media Bar?
It's like XMB, Cross Media Bar.
Is the worst design thing.
Yeah.
It does not prioritize anything over anything else, and it's impossible to find anything. And if it was overwhelming for me, think about what it was for someone that's not accustomed to those kind of interfaces. So yes, they really need to change that. Back to you, Austin.
It's and today they announced that I think it was PlanetSide 2 is going to be on the PlayStation 4 as well. Do you think that Sony is gearing up or ramping up to change the ecosystem and try to merge their console market with their PC market? Because they have a pretty strong PC market in terms of SOE. It's a pretty strong company, and it would be interesting to see them meld that. Do you think they're gearing up for that?
Yes.
Fantastic.
And the thing is, I don't think it's not just Sony's PC presence. If they're willing to put PlanetSide 2 on that, and that is a free-to-play MMO, there's no reason why they're not going to open up that platform to other free-to-play MMOs. We already have an example of a free-to-play game with the Blacklight game coming from Zombie Studios.
Yes.
This is one of the most interesting things that Sony is doing that, Microsoft has yet to make any statement on. I'm not saying they won't do it, although if you look at their business model, they traditionally will look less receptive to something as disruptive, I hate that word, as free-to-play. It's very interesting. I don't know how much they're going to talk about it, but I imagine they will be talking about it at the PlayStation press conference. But remember, that PlayStation 4, for the first time out of Sony, is very close to a PC platform. And so I think that they realize the advantage to start bringing in some of that content that has been only on the PC and have it available. How that pricing works, how both Sony reach some kind of financial benefits out of these free-to-play games. I'm fascinated about that. I bet you they will not talk about it one iota because that is their business plan. But yeah, I do expect to see that, and that could be one of the distinguishing characteristics of the PlayStation 4 to the Xbox One, because I think that Microsoft is looking a little bit more inward. I'm not saying that works against them, but that's one of the areas I think we're going to see the biggest distinction.
Because that would be a primary selling point, at least for me. I have a lot of friends on PC and console, and if I can merge that, I'd be going Sony all the way. I'm usually an Xbox guy, actually, but I might make the switch.
I have no idea. I'm not so technically minded that whether or not you can have that much crossover. I think with PlanetSide 2, that would be insane if you cannot play with your PC people, because a lot of that availability of the game should be able to speak to people who are already playing PlanetSide 2. So if they can pull it off with that, there's no reason that other publishers can't do that with their games, but they may decide on their own back end that they may not be able to allow for that crossover play.
Austin, do you play PlanetSide 2?
Yeah, I dabble when I have free time.
Because I guess what I'm wondering is how twitchy it is and how much of a shooter it is, because the first question that everyone has when you talk about cross-play between consoles and PC is controllers versus mouse and keyboard. I don't know if that's still a thing people... I think that there's a little mythological, the idea that the mouse is somehow way, way, way better, but it's something that people would probably...
You said that, not me. You're going to have all those PC people going, coming after you. Just be careful, Nick.
If Shadowrun was an FPS that when the Xbox launched, they tried to do that, and they tried to mix it, and it wasn't actually that bad. Everyone exaggerated and was like, it's terrible. PC people had a little bit more of an advantage. PlanetSide 2 is actually not that twitchy, and... it's a bit floaty, and it makes you feel more like a ground unit rather than a one-man killing machine like Halo 4 or Call of Duty, which is why I think Sony's trying to push competitive PlanetSide, and it's not really taking off as much because it's not as twitchy. But yeah, it's definitely not a twitchy game. Mouse and keyboard might have a slight advantage because the players on there have had more experience with the game, but as a medium of mouse versus controller, I don't think there'd be that much of a benefit, to be honest.
Well, also, Shadowrun, I forgot about that because that's when Microsoft still had gaming for Windows is its important platform.
Yes.
But I learned over the years, because I kind of it came out and I ignored it, many competitive gamers swear by Shadowrun. They think it's one of the most sophisticated and interestingly balanced and built games out there. So
One of my favorite games of all time, actually.
yeah,
It was cool. Isn't it shut down?
You just impressed me because you clearly have a good eye. And I think lack when it comes to certain things about multiplayer. Austin, thank you so much. Hey, Nick, you want to grab another comment from out there in the ether?
Yes, I can do that. Speaking of games that I'm sure you get asked about a lot, Christopher Brennan says, "Hey Adam, do you think we will finally see The Last Guardian?"
Okay, I think I've said it before, but I'm going to say it, and this is the last time I'm going to say it. If we don't, it doesn't exist. This thing has just been out there too much. That is exactly what Sony needs to do. Sony has such a huge advantage in my mind because both Microsoft and Sony have studios that can be making exclusive content. There was such a long-standing tradition of interesting games coming out of Sony. Not all of them work, but the fact that they are willing to spend money on Quantic Dream doing Heavy Rain, that they have Team Eco, that they have these experimental things, that helps give definition of kind of what the philosophy, for lack of a better word, is behind the PlayStation 4. And putting Last Guardian out in front, they know that they have a core audience that they're trying to get through the door first, and Team Eco games are how you get that core audience. So if they're not going to show it, that's why I don't think they would actually have it, because that is one of the best aces up their sleeve to get early adopters to get on board and play the PlayStation 4. Because for those who are really paying attention and have been around for a while, that game has such a mystique, has such an appeal that would really, I think, make it a very essential thing.
It's reaching like Half-Life 3 levels of just mystique and just general, like, it probably doesn't even exist in any concrete form right now, but...
I think we have a better chance of seeing The Last Guardian than we do Half-Life 3 or Beyond Good and Evil 2. So hopefully that will give people some sense of hope, but not the best hope.
You want to talk to Corey next?
Corey.
Or Cody.
There, Corey.
It's a tiny D. Cody.
There we go. Cody.
Hello.
Cody, how are you doing? Where are you?
Not bad. Not bad.
Where are you contacting us from, or is it just
Michigan?
Michigan, cool, nice. So E3, what is kind of the key thing is there a game you want to see? Do you need Microsoft to say we're not just going to not allow used games, we're not going to allow you to play games at all? It's just a box with nothing to connect it with. Would that make you happy?
Yeah.
What do you want to hear?
I mean, the used games thing was kind of a big deal, but now that I have a job, I don't mind buying new games, but I feel like for the younger kids that have parents and such, and their parents buy the games, I feel the big deal going on there.
Let me throw this to you because this came up in a podcast I was doing today with my good friend Vic Lucas of Electric Playground. What if it made it very hard or impossible to play used physical games, but you can now buy games digitally at a far reduced price? What if it was starting to replicate what happens on Steam, where you'll start to get these crazy sales? Because games that go on sale on Steam are at a price that is far lower than what a used game is at a GameStop or some other retailer. Would that soften the blow for you and other people?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would help maybe adjust more.
I'm not saying I expect this to happen, but I think it should. It's
definitely.
Get people
I
to
believe
just
so
kind of
too.
make these low cost purchases, get the game in. There's ways of making money off of that in the long run. Other than used games, I mean, what's kind of like, where are you trying to focus your attention for this E3?
Well, since DICE just released their thing, the 30-second YouTube video with what they're doing for E3, they said there's supposed to be some secret, something big happening, either relying around Battlefield or something else they're working on. So I'm kind of interested in that, whether that's going to be Mirror's Edge 2 or like a Battlefront 3 or something, because I think they have
because they also are working on the Star Wars games. Although I'm less convinced that we're going to see something Star Wars oriented, just because the purchase happened so recently, or the licensing deal with Disney, that EA is going to be making kind of the hardcore, Big Daddy console Star Wars games. But this Mirror's Edge 2 rumor refuses to die to the point that they should probably just lie and show something. Because I think, but it's funny. If there's a surprise about Battlefield 4, what would it be? I can't figure that out. I mean, I don't know. Are you a fan of the franchise?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I play it, so
I mean,
yeah.
what's kind of an element that they've never incorporated into the game, or they haven't talked about yet, that could really be that kind of like shocker?
Maybe, I don't know, more players on a multiplayer game, like 64 players or something really just wild.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what. Nick, what was the game from Sony? The one that Mag? That's what it was.
Yes, Mag.
Mag. Lots of people shooting stuff. Ah, yay, go team.
Historically, Battlefield has always had a lower player count on consoles than on PC, right? Like 64 players, or maybe even 128 is already something you can get in Battlefield 3 on PC.
You know what? Maybe it's crossplay. That could be possible. Cody, unfortunately, we had to mute you there because a horrible sound was coming over your mic. It sounded like you might be getting run over by a train, but clearly a small
Get
train.
out of the way, Cody.
We can see your face, so it's just going right over your feet. So do something about that train. We'll get back to you.
Should we try to bring in a new group sometime soon? Since it's
you know what? Why don't we bring some people in? You know what? We'll talk a little bit more about E3. I do want to get to the Last of Us, not the Lost of Us, because a lot of people have been shooting me some tweets wanting to know about particular things about the game, and I'm happy. I'm very happy to answer them as long as I'm not spoiling the experience for anybody. So, all right, you want to do that there, Nick?
Yeah, sure.
Throw a question at me for the interim.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you to everybody for coming in and participating, and I apologize for those of you that may not have made it in. This does seem to happen with a frequency that I'm disappointed by, and we're slowly trying to get a sense of the rhythm so that we can prevent that.
Yeah, so while we've got space for some new people to join, here's an easy one, actually. You ready for like a softball question?
Do those exist?
They do, amazingly.
Unless it's something like, what is your name? I think I'm probably going to find it challenging. But
this is a little tougher. Zachary Jenks Western says, how much coverage of E3 will Rev3 Games be doing?
Wow, okay, yeah, you definitely tossed that one under.
Right?
It's
I told you.
Very, very big. Last count, we're estimating we're going to have something from 80 to 90 videos in 4 days. And just so you guys know, this hardworking team, which includes Nick, myself, Max and Tara, Zach Miner, and our wonderful editor, Max Wink, we're only expanding that pool of talent slightly, and we are going to endeavor to put out a ridiculous number of content. For those of you that have followed me from my days at G4, we used to do those big live shows that people would come on and we would demo the game. I'm going to be doing something similar like that. It will not be live streamed because we actually want to do it from a multi-camera shoot. But here's where it's going to be different. You never saw the full demo when you were watching it on television. We had to cut it off usually about 7.5 minutes. We're going to let the thing run as long as it needs to because it's the internet. This is why I've been saying this is a brand new E3 for me. I'm very excited. Max and Tara will be out there on the floor, getting hands-on with stuff, getting impressions. I will be there at every single press conference, and you are going to see my thoughts, as well as Max and Tara's, who will be at our home base in a far more comfortable setting, giving their take on everything that's happening. It will be an incessant blast of E3 content. I could not be more excited or more confident about what you're going to get. I think that you'll see a happier Adam. And probably not one that's just completely manic. So I'm not trying to cram 80 games into a 3-hour period. Right? We have all day to do this. So
cool. Well,
that is my pitch. It starts Monday. Just if you haven't subscribed at youtube.com/rev3games, do that because then you'll be getting the notifications as the new stuff comes up. And tell your friends to subscribe as well because we all win when we're knowledgeable because knowledge is power and power is powerful. Okay, that's my best pitch I've ever given about anything. Nick, let's see if we can dig myself out of this hole of idiocy and move on to some people. All
sure.
right.
Do you want to do one at a time or just let everyone in?
Let's let everyone in.
All right, cool. It's about to get crazy. We're bringing back AJ. We've got Alberto, Dan, Drayton York.
Yeah, look at that, Drayton.
And Nate. So there's a new fivesome for you.
Okay, so I'm going to count to 3. We've never done this before. When I say that, everyone just go hello. Okay, I'm going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Hello.
See, that's musical. That's like a symphony. Yeah, you know
I'll
what?
be back, by the way.
Next
I'll do the
time we're
tenor
doing it with kazoos, because then people will be like, "This is the best thing ever." So, hey, Alberto, I'll start with you. So, are you excited about E3?
Yes.
Good. And that was the most emphatic yes I've ever heard about excitement. So you should really, whenever someone says, like, when someone asks you to marry them, you just go like that.
Yes.
Yes.
And they'll be like, oh, Alberto loves me. That's great. What's top of the list of what you want to know about from E3?
The PlayStation 4.
PlayStation 4. What do you want to know about the PlayStation 4?
How much?
Are you already dead set that that's the console you're getting? Or is there something you want to hear that's going to make you feel better?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it. Absolutely. Just want to know how much it'll cost and what games it's gonna have on launch. But I'm definitely looking forward to Killzone.
Okay, cool. So, if you don't mind my asking, what's too much in terms of cost?
500.
500. Yeah, which if they go above 500, well, they have some splaining to do, definitely. So Killzone launch games. I want to know what your take is on this, Alberto. Do you like the term launch window? Does that make you feel okay, or do you want to hear launch day?
Launch day.
Yeah, me too. I am so sick of launch window. And it's like, whoever came up with window, like, that's how it softens the blow. Like, we don't really know when it'll come out, but at some point in the future, it's like a window, and you can look through, and there's pretty grass. You just can't pick it, touch it, smell it, or enjoy it in any capacity. Yeah, I'm really hoping that we will not hear launch window much during E3. At the same time, I fully expect we will hear launch window too much at E3. So cool. A PlayStation 4 guy. Hey, Dan.
Hi.
Hey, Dan. Okay, which console are you leaning towards right now?
Probably the Xbox, to be honest. I feel like that's like not the popular opinion, but
yeah, look, it's fine. It's acceptable. There were things that they demonstrated about the Xbox. It was quite interesting. Yes. And just by my saying that, I think, there, you guys, all the Microsoft money just showed up for what I just said. It's like
finally,
it's like that high. It's incredible. It's so nice over there. Oh, it's not Matrick. Yeah. Anyway, back to you, Dan. What do you still need to hear from Microsoft to reaffirm that decision, and what could they say that might make you change your mind?
I really actually liked all the entertainment stuff, and I knew going full well that that was going to be entertainment, TV, stuff like that. I still love live television and stuff like that, and I knew that it was part 1 of 2, so I was going into it knowing that E3 is going to be games. I knew that. But if they don't really follow through on that promise, I know they're going to show a lot of games, but if it is just more, I like Madden and Call of Duty and stuff like that, but if it's just more of that and they don't show as many new IPs as they usually do, then I will get worried.
So if you start seeing 3s and 4s and like adventures,
it's okay to show a few of them.
Already know.
Yeah. The reason I usually go for it is because, like, again, Halo is one of my favorite franchises. I really do love it, and I'm so invested in the Xbox Live ecosystem. You go where all your friends are.
Exactly.
So that's Xbox Live and Steam for me. So it's kind of hard to get away from those.
And, it's funny, and this goes back to what the importance of those early adopters are, because they have friends that even if they haven't purchased the console yet, what that guy purchases, it's like, well, I want to play with him, so I'm going to get either the Sony or the Xbox. And that's why they really need to hone that message to the people that are buying day 1 through month 3. I think it's very, very important that they do that. And clearly, Dan, you're one of them. So So Halo, is there, in terms of a new IP, obviously I can't say what unannounced game that you've never heard of are you looking forward to? But
I know some people have said it before.
What kind of game would you like to see that would kind of, look, do you want to see some RPGs? Do you just want more shooters?
I mean, it's Xbox. I certainly get my fill of shooters. But I would definitely, I got pretty frenzied when I heard about the report that Rare is actually coming back with something. So I grew up.
It's the fact that it's something. I guess, Nick, did they say it was a game, or did they say like they might show up with a cake?
Oh, I'd like to believe that they wouldn't tease it if it was just like Avatars 2. Like, hopefully it's a game.
Connect Sports 3,
Yeah, finally.
Dan, our friend earlier was hoping they would hear about Conquer. It was Lucas up in Sweden. What's the franchise that you wouldn't mind seeing revisited from Rare?
I personally don't really care about Killer Instinct because I also wasn't old enough to play it when I was a kid.
Thank you.
I don't know. I'm not. It's a fighting game, right? Yeah, it's fighting.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fighting guy.
That's not where they excel. We're fighting games. So they excelled were like Banjo-Kazooie's in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where nostalgia kind of took over. But I would say it's Banjo-Kazooie because it was when I was a kid. It was always the great alternative to Mario. Because I don't get me wrong, I love Mario, but
I really like Banjo.
And when I played it on Live Arcade, what was it, 2 years ago? And I was playing it, I was like, damn, this aged really well. It actually did, from the gameplay mechanics.
I think it's also, and this is where I thought it was a huge step up from Mario 64, it's the cohesive overworld.
Yeah.
That it made it such a fun place to explore. You felt like there was something to discover, whereas kind of the way Mario kind of kicked you out of the level and back in. I just thought there was just something so remarkable about that. I think also there's an odd dark humor that's in the Banjo games that, as cartoonish as it looks, it's got something that's a little bit more appealing for an older audience. And it's about a bear with a bird in its backpack. I mean, come on. Every piece of market research says adults love bears with birds. It's just something that it's right there with beer and hopelessness.
It's marketing 101.
I love beer and traveling birds. That's what I like.
Exactly it.
So,
okay, well, Dan, thank you so much. Let's see, Leroy, am I right with that?
Let's see, where's Leroy? Let's.
Can you hear me?
I'm looking for. I think his name is Drayton York, just spelled backwards.
I think you're right. It's mirror writing, and I just reinterpolated your last name into Leroy.
You can call him Leroy.
I'm fine with that.
So, okay, E3 is the most important thing to you, like the Vita lineup for November.
Not really.
Well, he's from a mirror world.
Good. I'm trying to narrow down your interest there. So I'm starting from the periphery and working inwards.
Right.
Are you looking to make a console purchase at the end of the year?
Maybe. I'm kind of thinking about a Wii U, but Nintendo's just really letting it die, and it makes me sad because
it makes me sad too. It's not something I enjoy watching at all.
Yeah, they're exclusives. They have them lined up, and they seem phenomenal from what I've seen, like Pikmin 3 and The Wonderful 101, and they're just not getting them out there, and that's what would really push the console sales.
Not that I'm saying this is going to happen, but if it was just Pikmin 3 and Wonderful 101 this year, would that be enough to justify a Wii U purchase?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, for you, it really would be. Okay.
Yeah, for me,
I'm still hoping that we're going to see a proper Mario game or a proper Zelda game, which I think is very unlikely, and there are a lot of rumors of Mario Kart. I think it's just an issue of they can announce it and then just don't get it out there. And I understand that we want to have a top-quality product, but they should have figured out by now how long it takes them to make top-quality products, and they should have started working on this much earlier. Are you even considering PlayStation or Microsoft?
Maybe, just for like the bigger multiplats. I'm leaning towards PS4 just because from what I've heard about the Xbox One, I just don't really... I'm not a huge fan of Microsoft in general. I got the 360 a few years back just because it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. So, if anything, I'm going to go with Sony next generation.
Now, as I've been asking everyone else, is there something Sony could say that would make you go like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, or something Microsoft could say where you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to stick with Microsoft? Like used games or always online? Excuse me, I burped right there from water, and I apologize to everybody for that.
Oh, it's fine. If Microsoft were to announce a new Rare game like Banjo-Kazooie, a real one, not Nuts and Bolts, or...
Whoa.
Well, I mean, Nuts and Bolts is...
I'm with you on this one. Nuts and Bolts was much better than people thought, but it made me yearn for a proper Banjo game.
Yeah, and it was especially harsh that for the first 5 minutes of the game, they make an extended joke about how it's not a platformer. Like, it opens with you collecting, like, jiggies or honeycomb or whatever, and then it's like, wait a minute, we don't want to do this. It's like, well, I kind of do, actually.
Yeah, that's called missing your audience completely with that aspect of the game. So if you saw something from Rare, you would start to entertain Microsoft.
Yeah, like if I saw a real Banjo or like a sequel to Viva Pinata, I would totally dig that.
Wow,
cool. Or
okay,
Jefferson Gemini.
Everyone, I'm going to start doing this at more aggressive sessions. Just in case there's someone from like Microsoft Marketing Research, everyone wave, say hi, because If there's someone there, they're like, damn, do we have one of them rare games? Because this seems to be a trend that's starting right here. I don't know, just get me a bird and a bear, put it in. Well, don't kill the bird and put it in the backpack. It's like, don't get a big bear because it might kill the person. So, anyway, yeah, this is interesting. Rare has come up more in the course of this address Sess than I expected it to, and it's interesting because I still hold a great deal of fondness for them as well. Like I said, I would love to see Jet Force Gemini. Hey, and we're going to just move on here to Nate. Nate?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Is Rare the most important thing for you, like if a game comes from Rare?
Not really. I was one of those people, I never grew up with Nintendo. I grew up as a PC gamer and then converted to console.
Oh, wow.
I remember the old PC floppy disk days where we had to load that into the disk drive and wait for it to boot up.
If you keep talking like that, people will know you might be older. When you start talking about floppies and 3/4 discs, someone's going to go, oh.
It's true,
They're like,
I know.
hey, what was it like when the wheel was invented? And that was fire. So...
No, but it would be exciting to see Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, that'd be awesome, but they're not the thing that's on my mind right now.
What is it that is, first and foremost, on your mind?
Actually, for me, it's a lot about the indie game development. I mean, I'm actually more shocked because in the past couple of years, that's been the thing I feel like prevalently has been growing more and more, and that's been the most fascinating thing to watch in the whole game space recently. I mean, I remember at PAX back in March, I was kind of blown away by the amount of presence those types of companies had. And
and PAX is a wonderful place to showcase all of that. So I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, as a result of your interest in indie games, is Sony where you're leaning?
Yeah, actually, I was very much surprised by when they had their big reveal in February, how much of a focus they were putting towards that. It was actually really good on them. It shows that they're understanding the marketplace a little bit better than they did, I guess. Or maybe they're just getting a better understanding of it. And it's weird how Microsoft is still staying in their kind of same mindset.
Yeah, that's another piece of mess. I don't even understand how, like this whole concept of the walled garden, how hard it is for a lot of these indies getting there. And obviously, Sony has made it abundantly clear that wall is being torn down. Microsoft has not been nearly as emphatic. That's not to say they won't do it on Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know where you're coming from. If you look at their traditional business model, and they seem to be so wedded to it, it's not as compatible to make a shift like Sony is. I have to say, when I believe it was March during the Game Developers Conference, Sony did hold an event for press with a lot of their indie games, and they demonstrated what their plan is. I was blown away. Adam Boyce, who works over there and is kind of heading up that division, is somebody who I greatly admire. It's a wonderful interview. And is that's one of the most intriguing aspects. And you're bringing me to an interesting point about the one thing I'm kind of concerned about from Sony. I think I mentioned this earlier. Excuse me, guys. Is they have so much to talk about, like indie, like their main games, like Gaikai and Vita, and they're going to want to talk about PS3.
Gaikai.
I worry a lot about how focused they can make that E3 press conference. One of the things that Microsoft has done is they got all that other crap out of the way. So they can get a little bit more laser focused about the message they're trying to have. I'm not saying that, I'm hoping that Sony, because all that stuff is so appealing about Sony, but will they be able to address all of that in such a substantive way that we can walk away with a good idea of what they're going to do?
And I totally agree with that, because I actually wasn't that disappointed by Microsoft's thing. I kind of saw that coming. Like, I had a feeling we weren't going to get any real big game reveals outside of Call of Duty, because Call of Duty, out of all the stuff they could have showed, made the most sense, considering it's their biggest game, even though it's multi-platform, it made sense. And I just know for E3, they have to basically punch it out there with what they have coming in the next few months or even years if they want to.
So, are you going to watch all the press conferences?
I've been doing that actually for the past couple of years when you guys used to do coverage and such.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, I mean, is it possible
like Christmas
to be like, oh my God, we love indie so much, we brought up an independent person and we're going to shower him in flowers and hugs and kisses? I mean, if you suddenly start to embrace indie, and I don't know what an independent person is. It's a guy wearing Jonathan Blow on it. That's what an independent.
Yeah, when they can't get Jonathan Blow, they get guys wearing Jonathan Blow.
They're gonna go so meta.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I mean, but if they made a strong case about they too are going to go the direction of Sony, would that change your mind at all?
I really don't know, because I know lately the thing I keep thinking more and more of is how much I want to go back to PC, which is totally 180 what the whole...
I've been going, the past year, I've been going back to PC.
Yeah, I miss it so much.
But and also because of the architecture of the Xbox One and the PS4, so many of these games are going to be fine on PC.
Yeah.
That I'm wondering, outside of exclusives, if given the choice, I tend to go to my computer.
No, that's
primarily
exactly my reasoning.
Because my long-suffering wife doesn't have to watch me just in a living room yelling at a television with headphones on. Now I get to do it in a corner. It's a little bit quieter. But yeah, I mean, it is. That's one of the things I'm most interested in. Is is this actually going to reinvigorate my PC gaming, even though I'm going to have these other two consoles? So
yeah, that's my whole reasoning too, because I feel like since those consoles this generation came out, there's been so much advancement tech-wise. Like, you can get Netflix apps on like a smart television. You can get most of that stuff off the TVs now. So it's really more about what is it bringing to the table that's different. And I just feel like there's not enough that makes me want to like really do a day one purchase. It's more of I want to see what happens after they're released and such. So,
yeah, no, and that's probably a wise, sensible thing to do. I am not wise and sensible. I'll be like, give it to me now! I love it.
At the same time, I'm also in that same mindset.
Well, you know what? We're a little bit past 5. We're going to go a little bit longer. Nick, did you want to throw out some questions out there? If anyone actually even wants to talk about The Last of Us, I don't want to force this discussion on anybody.
Yeah,
if you can go up today.
This is a question from Jordan Knight, who says, "Hey Adam, given your general distaste..."
Is this like the Jordan Knight, like the singer?
I think he might be Suge Knight's son.
No, you're so young. No, God, wave your hand if you got the joke. Yeah.
Put them way down here.
You're all old. You get it. I see you laughing right there. Yeah, Jordan Knight. He was kind of like white hip hop in the 90210 era, and it was painful because they were like N90210, and they cut to a special music video of his awful music. I'm sorry. I'm being nostalgic,
right.
And also throwing up in my mouth. Back to Jordan Knight.
All right. Well, this other Jordan Knight asks, "Hey Adam, given your general distaste towards pre-orders, and now that you've played The Last of Us, is that a safe pre-order?"
Yeah, it is. I think it's. I never like to be 100% emphatic because people like different types of games. And as I said in the review, this is a dark game. It is a tough game in terms of themes and just the level of violence. It's also, I believe, once again, my colleague Patrick Klepping and some other people have commented on how fun is a tough word to ascribe to it. But it does have multiplayer I quite enjoyed, and there is nothing else out there like it. And if you want to be part of what this game will be discussed until the end of the year, just like BioShock Infinite, this is one of the safer pre-orders I would recommend. Also, hopefully there'll just be enough copies of this in stores that you can wait till the last minute to get your purchase.
I'm going to ask you the worst question in the world. So, BioShock Infinite or Last of Us, if you had to pick one?
You know what? Okay, just so you guys know, because I've been asked this question all day long.
Right, I'm sure.
I did enjoy both games and gave very, very emphatically positive reviews back to back. The only reason they were back to back is in those 2 months in the middle, I have been traveling so much, I have not been able to sit down and review a game. Just so happened that my traveling stopped just as Last of Us hit my desk. I don't look at games with that kind of immediate taxonomy. Right. It's like, okay, where does this fall in these particular hierarchies? As time goes on, I tend to sort of mellow and look at the games, and I can separate that initial sense of experience into something a little more kind of sober-minded, and then maybe I can make those distinctions. But the one thing that's interesting between these two games is, beyond the superficial things of Man with Girl, voiced by Troy Baker, is that there are still some interesting thematic similarities, but the presentation and how it all comes up. How it all plays out is so incredibly different that it's like apples and oranges, and so I think that you can't do much worse than playing both games. So that is my non-committal response.
Fair enough.
I have a last question for you.
Yeah.
Hi. One thing I noticed is I guess you could say Polygon had one of the lower reviews.
Yes, Phil Colon, Polygon.
Yeah, it was a good review.
It was an excellent review.
But one thing, it might have been him, and it might have been some of the other reviews I saw of it, kind of noticed that the extreme graphic violence in it kind of sparked some dissonance in playing it, and may have actually, and all the shooting and whatnot may have kind of made it not as good, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Whereas sort of then when it started to become a game, it worked.
Yeah, and then whereas so a lot of people praised like the graphic violence, and well, not praised it in Last of Us, but how it advanced the game. Whereas you see some of the post-review articles on Infinite actually kind of dog Infinite for having all that violence, even though I thought it was good to have it in Infinite. And I think it's kind of funny, these games so close together, why is one being why is one getting a plus for it and the other a negative?
So Dan, because I know exactly what you're talking about. But remember, and I expect the same thing to happen with Last of Us, and I'm always kind of like there, like people are pointing fingers at me. For the week after the game comes out, praise, 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 and then sort of a contrary argument starts to emerge. Because the negative things about Infinite didn't happen until about 2 weeks out. People really felt that the violence was too much given the tone of the game. I think these are all valid arguments. I don't ascribe to them. In the case of Last of Us, more specific to that, I find the violence, which is quite extreme, and that's one of the cautions I do.
Is it really bad?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I find it is absolutely linked to the story, that it is a story about survival and desperation. The character you're playing, Joel, I found him far more ambivalent than Booker DeWitt. And that, when you play it, it's his sort of relation to this notion of survival. And that it's almost like a pathological need to survive. Because remember, this world is not a world that you would necessarily be like, it's awesome, I'm still alive in the apocalypse. This is great. But it's his relationship to this notion of survival. And the desperate quality, which comes out also in just, you're trying to stealth, you'll get caught, you need to survive, you need to get to that next moment. And that what brings in kind of, I think, a darker quality to the violence. And the way that I put it is, it's very visceral and would feel a moment of relief. And then you kind of start to appreciate how awful that was. It's very interesting how violence is used. And I think it's one of the most interesting discussions and depictions of violence I've seen in a game. Because it's not like it's hiding from it, but it also knows it has kind of a psychic effect. It's not there for pleasure. I also don't think the action and the shooting really detracted from it. I think, once again, that the unity between narrative and that action really, really works well. And once again, a lot of people are going to see this game differently, and I fully expect 2 weeks after it comes out, people will be like, Adam, you're wrong! I hate you! I played this game! I can only tell you what I feel about it, and I love The Last of Us.
Why gameplay in games are bad.
Yeah, I mean, there is a funny sense that when games become games, they aren't good. And there are arguments there that I think are actually quite interesting and need to be brought into the discussion. I'm still happy to enjoy games and the things that are more experimental as well. So yeah, there you go, Dan.
In Infinite or Last of Us, which one do you think had like the most impact? Like the violence had like the most impact on you?
Oh, it's Last of Us by far. That there's the what's the word I want to use for Infinite? Because I don't think it was wrong to do that, but there's something far more allegorical, metaphorical, and that sense of invention of the world that's in Infinite that immediately does allow you as a player to have something of a distance from it. I cared about the characters and everything, but it was like it wasn't saying like, hey, Adam, this is reality. Last of Us is a lot more immediate, and the way that you kind of get into that world, that in that regard, the violence and the impact of it really is kind of a little bit more of a gut punch. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but like I had to kind of step away a lot from Last of Us, not just from the violence, but there's definitely a tone and a mood that, I mean, Zach Miner, when he played it, when we were working on it together for the review, he just got in his car and drove around San Francisco. It really is an affecting game. I do not recommend rushing through it. You will not be a happier man for it. Both because you need to indulge it, and it gets under your skin. It's something else.
It sounds very different from the violence in Infinite, which felt kind of like it glorified it in some ways, just in terms of like these completely optional executions.
Right. No, once again, it's like that whole idea of American exceptionalism, that everything is bigger than it needs to be. I think that's where the violence in Infinite kind of worked in. You know, there's just kind of a grand gesture to everything that happened in that game. This is intimate. It's a much less pleasant type of violence. It reminds me sometimes of the movies of Takeshi Kitano, where you'll have this movie, they'll just burst into horrible violence for a moment and then just go away. The two could not be more dissimilar in terms of their treatments.
Cool. Do you want to let two more people in real quick before we?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. All right. Go for it.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that we're talking like Infinite and Last of Us got brought up, because if I remember correctly a while ago, wasn't the original art director on Infinite, he went to go work for Naughty? Yeah, that's the interesting part about it, because there is a connection between the two of them when you think about it.
Yes, he is now over at Naughty Dog. I saw him a little while ago. I'm not sure how much of a role he played on Last of Us, as it was clearly wrapping up its development. Yeah. But he is one of the most talented and wonderful guys out there, and wherever he lands, that company only stands to benefit from it. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Tony. Yeah. Hey, Phil. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be back in here again. Been wanting to give some comments and thoughts about this upcoming E3.
Well, okay. What are you thinking?
Let me just start off by saying Mirror's Edge 2. I can't believe it's finally happening.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I am that confident. I am that confident in it. The game.
We're going to have you back in a few weeks. We're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, the game help page listing on Amazon, the big thing for me was, I know people were talking about, like, oh, maybe this will be an Xbox One exclusive. And that kind of just caused my heart to completely sink right there.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the information that was posted up for the Amazon German page or whatever it was showed, if I remember correctly, it showed a 360 and PS3 and PC listing, if I remember correctly.
But not PS4.
Yeah, not PS4 for some reason.
I've been hearing some funny stories like this. Like there's a new type of exclusive. For current gen, it'll be across the board, but the next gen, it might go to one over another. It's a nice way for a company like EA to hedge their bets, because for the next couple of years, you know, say like Assassin's Creed 4, that's going to still sell more copies on the 360 and the PS3 than it will on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So.
I'm kind of just done with Assassin's Creed. I played 3. I was severely disappointed how they completely threw that crafting system out the window, and it had really no major purpose to the gameplay in the end.
That was Revelations as well. No, but I was just using that as an example that you're going to start to see next-gen exclusives that are available on all current-gen consoles.
Yeah.
That's definitely probably something happening. So, okay, outside of Mirror's Edge 2, what else are you excited about?
Okay, well, here, my interest for the Xbox One is here, and my interest for the PS4 is here, which is to say they don't exist at all. I am completely going to the PC at this point. I'm done with the consoles because the fact that they have decided that used games is this market that they need to sort of infringe upon now, as a avid GameFly subscriber, that completely screws me and every other hope I have of playing.
Phil, here's just my only thing, and I'm not saying you're wrong.
No.
But what has been said definitively from Sony or Microsoft that makes you so certain that is out of the question?
It's not the concern about being charged for it. There was some ideas proposed about how, these used games could be cheaper than brand new retail games, and I'm like, that's great. If we could trust the companies that they're actually going to hold up to that idea, that you can't charge full MSRP for used games. This concept of where you're going to be able to go to a retailer, sell them the license for your game, and then somebody else will be able to buy the license, I think that's great. I just don't trust I don't trust Microsoft to do it properly, because I've seen with their games on demand program that they are not giving reasonable release windows concerning newly released titles on the on-demand system, and on PSN, correct me if I'm wrong, but brand new games that are available digitally, they're the same price as a physical copy.
No, you're absolutely right with that, which I think is absolutely absurd. It's that, like, there is no manual, there is no physical copy, it's not going to a pressing plant. You have none of that chain of labor that should increase the price. I'm with you 100%. I'm going to just let you know, I hope that we're going to start that they will make a comment that they are going to adjust the pricing.
I completely hope that's what it's going to be. I mean, I want that to happen, and I'm gonna kind of do a little name dropping. I'm probably a horrible person for doing this, but I don't care. Gaijin Works with the recent release of the Class of Heroes 2 on PSN.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was people like me had the opportunity to pre-order a copy, and they didn't get just the physical copy, but they got a digital copy to play as well at the same time for an extra $10. If they did something like that, or if they just at least moved towards that, I'm saying a used game price for me if I was buying it digitally, buying the license, $35, $40. That's what I want to see.
I mean, yeah. And then I'm still hoping that we'll see sales, like you get on Steam. But I see what you're saying is Steam has proven this model and continues to follow with it. And I do get there's some uncertainty. I think this once again gets back to our point that Microsoft has got to, and Sony, have to be as clear as day about what their policies are. That no reason, it's not reasonable for someone to buy this not knowing where this is going to go. So,
the only other thing I can throw out in terms of anticipation from E3 is I don't know. I don't have a lot of games I'm really hyped for. Destiny though looks really good. I'm looking forward to Bungie maybe finally pushing for the idea that, like PlanetSide, you can do an MMORPG that doesn't have to be all the I'm going to click, auto attack.
Oh, yeah, no.
Rotate in this new attack.
I still don't know how massive the game is. I believe people will be playing on a server all at the same time, but will you be playing with them all at the same time? Something I
think they might go the Guild Wars 1 approach, where the Destiny is where all the players connect at the same time, or like Monster Hunter or God's Eater or whatever those other hunting titles are like. They might go something like that where you can interact with people on the Destiny, and certain planets will allow you to play with other people.
I'm with you in these theories. I think I've gotten so fed up with Bungie not showing us anything.
Yes.
What they need to do is show a game, show how it works. I need to believe, because this has been like, hey, look, it's Giancarlo Esposito talking about our game. No, don't work that way, especially at E3. Phil, thank you so much for that.
No problem.
I think we're going to have to shut this puppy down. I'm getting signals from our Red 3 people over there that I am needed.
Cool.
Unfortunately, guys, this is a good sign that I had this much time to do Address the Sess the week before E3, because traditionally this is where everything starts to get set on fire. And all of my wonderful plans start to unspool like a bad Christmas sweater. So I want to thank you all. Raphael, I want to apologize personally for not being able to get to you, but we do have to shut this one down. We're going to do this again the week after E3, when we can talk about specifics and not possibilities and speculation. And if we can't talk about specifics, then there's going to be some serious problems about how things are presented at E3. So once again, it all starts Monday. Just subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. You will get all the updates as we're rolling out all of this content. Just go to youtube.com/Red3Games. Guys, thank you so much.
Make sure you tweet a lot, too.
And, if Mirror's Edge 2 doesn't show up, I owe you $50.
All right, you got it. Now, at $50, I'm going to send you a hat that you have to wear for like an entire day.
I can totally do that. Yeah. The next Address Sess, if you send me a hat, I will wear it. The I was wrong about Mirror's Edge 2 hat.
You got it. Or
one of the Plants vs. Zombies hats.
Yeah, or something.
This isn't
PAX. Flattering. All right, guys. Thank you so much. It's been Address Sess. You guys have been a wonderful audience. E3 is coming. Kind of like winter in Game of Thrones.
Thank you, God.
It's an E3 wedding. Okay. That's what we're going to call it.
Oh, God.
It's going to be fantastic.